order at all. From the first one I see, who would like to ask a question? Yes, sir.
Yes, good evening. My name is Phil Pascal, I'm a Washington resident, and I have one question for the both of you, so I'm going to rephrase the question in two different ways, because one's a sheriff and one's not. And we still have time when we're all finished and there's no other questions that you can hold down that follow what I came from. For Sheriff Fox, can you identify two deficiencies or weaknesses in Bob Mosier's credentials that you believe that have inadequately prepared him to be sheriff of Fauquier County? And for Mr. Mosier, can you identify two areas or deficiencies where Sheriff Fox could have improved upon in his performance as sheriff? Sheriff, would you please answer?
You know, being the sheriff for the past 12 years kind of gives me a little bit of a up on Bob, and it's not personal, Bob. I think one thing that they talked about was the DARE program in the beginning when he came out, and unbeknownst to Bob at the time, the schools are the ones that decided to cut the DARE program. It wasn't the sheriff's office that cut the DARE program. I believed in it, I think it did very well. And probably seeing some of the things transpire over the past 12 years through the Board of Supervisors and things kind of gives me a little bit of an edge up on him. I think that's where he probably is not up to speed on county politics as much, maybe as I am. I think it's, you know, I haven't kept up with Bob's career other than what I heard here tonight and the other night in another meeting, so I'm not going to say anything bad about Bob.
I'm not going to say anything bad about Charlie Ray either, but
That's the way I want it.
there you go. There you go. No, the other thing that I would say, it's the campaign platform. You know, and again, Charlie, nothing personal, but I mean, even just a moment ago, talking about accreditation is something that you wanted to start when you came into office, and here we are in 2015, and something we're still working on during that time period. So I guess what it is just commitment to follow through on something and get it to that next place. And surely don't understand all the complexities involved. There's no question about that. But certainly, I think that the platform would identify the answers to your question that everyone has to be why.
Next. Yes, sir.
My name is Kyle Brown. I live in the Scott District. I'm 41 years old, and I have 4 children. I'm prefacing this because it is directly relates to my question. One's a senior in high school, one's in middle school, and 2 are in elementary school. My wife and I decided to settle in this area 5 years ago. We've encountered a number of challenges trying to ensure a positive and a safe environment for our children. You know, I heard one candidate talk about the disconnects between cost and Board of Supervisors and schools and Sheriff Department. And I see that as a trend in this election in all areas. I'm not going to mention the gentleman's name, but I was introduced to him when I was engaged by the Mosier campaign. He's in the Sheriff's Department, and he joined one campaign, and then I see he's in another campaign. And I see a close community that's small, it's aging, and I don't fit in. And I'm trying to raise a family here. I come from Western Loudoun County that's changed, it's expensive, I can't afford to live there. The schools are overcrowded. It's a little bit out of control for me. And I came back to this area to raise my family. And I'm questioning whether I should have done that or not. So my question, I guess, to the sheriff, to the candidate, incumbent candidate, is why did this gentleman question leadership and communication at the beginning and then change? And you may or not be aware of that, so that may be a relevant question. But the second one is how do you intend to improve on this? The challenges that I see, middle-aged with a family that I'm trying to raise. And I'd offer that question to Bob Mosier as well.
Who wants to answer that question?
can't be sheriff and make everybody happy. You're gonna make some people disgruntled along. But I do the best that I can with the people I have to work with. You become really close friends with a lot of these folks. People get towards the end of their career, they start noticing, hey, where can I get the most bang for my buck? Or I haven't progressed quite as fast along through the process as I'd like to. You know, I work on training. I'd like to improve training, but training takes a lot of our budget. You know, we have to be recertified every couple of years. As soon as you get somebody trained, especially if it's a high-ticket item, like Department of Forensic Science, and they quit, they leave, they go somewhere else, we bring them back. Or polygraph operator, they quit, they go somewhere else. It's a challenge, and I try to stay up on the challenge. I'm a young department, you don't get as many experienced people here for the salaries that these guys are getting paid. So you have to become creative. And I've tried to become creative by giving take-home cars. Number one, take-home car, it gives them a sense of pride. It allows them to be responsible for that piece of equipment. They take better care of it. Plus, it allows me to pull them back in times that we may need people coming with a take-home vehicle. You know, I hate to say this, but law enforcement is the front lines of our homeland security. We have to be responsible for everything that goes on. The communications between the feds and us have gotten a lot better in local law enforcement than they ever have in the state. They started a fusion center which passes information along to us a lot more rapidly. And we've had people come through that could do potentially harmful. So the availability of having those extra people to come in and help is an asset to us. Also, with the growth that the county has had, we have a lot more events now than what we've ever had. So by issuing those people a car, it lets them come back and make extra money, which like Gold Cup, for instance. Deputy can go down there and make $30 an hour working the Gold Cup. We have to bring people in from other counties to help fit that, to meet the need, because 55 to 65,000 people in the Gold Cup, that creates a nice target for domestic terrorism, so we have to be prepared for it. I'd like to do more training, but I have to really watch our training budget. We've got people that are trained in forensic. We've got our tech team guys that are trained. Equipment's expensive. New technology is expensive. We got video cameras in our cars now, which knocked out 65 to 80% of the calls that we were getting on complaints from guys. And it doesn't matter whether I'm the sheriff or Bob's the sheriff, you're going to get complaints on your guys. Every tool we can use, this next one is going to be a big one when they put cameras on police lapels. It's not just a camera. The equipment's out there. You got to pick which equipment. Is it HD quality? Can you hear what's being said? How long does the battery last? And how are you storing the information that you're getting off on? How long do you store the information? What servers are you going to need to carry all that digital information? There's a whole lot I've been thinking about. Prince William's been studying it for the past 2 years to see where they're going to go with it. I agree with the technology, because nobody wants to believe law enforcement anymore the way it's going. I want to keep up with technology and try to stay ahead of it, but it's very expensive. You, the taxpayers, are paying the foot in the bill for it.
Thank you, John Ray.
Sir, let me answer your question. You absolutely made the right decision with Fauquier County. And this is the thing we need to do, is to be able to have these conversations, these town hall discussions, to hear these issues so we know how to do it. And we know how to do what's best. Look, I may think I know what's best based on my experience and my training and the things that I've done, that I've accomplished. But truthfully, I do not know until I get the ground truth, until we have these discussions. So absolutely would like to follow up with you more to find out what that is, what you're talking about, and anyone else that's here that would like to be able to voice those concerns, to be able to talk about that. And I have to tell you too, one of the things I am going to do, I'm going to go off script for just a second, is one of the things I do want to do, and I learned this, was to be accessible to people. So I intend on doing at least one day a week for the first part of the day. Maybe on a Thursday is what I'm thinking. I'm going to travel to a different part of the county. I'm going to get out of my car. I'm going to go in. I'm going to speak with business owners and people. Maybe stop at a school if they'll have me in there. I guess they don't want the DARE program, but maybe the sheriff can have lunch with the kids at an elementary school. And then I'm going to go back to the sheriff's office, and I'll be available. You can come in. You don't need an appointment. You don't even need to give your name. You can come in the afternoon unannounced and meet with the sheriff. I'm going to try this out. I don't know how successful it's going to be, but that's one of the things I do want to do. So that should address your concerns, at least being able to be heard or to have a conversation to talk about that. Thank you.
Since I'm president, I'm going to talk. One of the things that you can do, the schools are just dying to have parents care.
So I'd like to take a second to address it. My wife tried to volunteer to be a substitute school teacher. Prince Fauquier County, I moved from Prince William, so I went there either. We came to Fauquier County. The process to become a substitute school teacher is broken. She was received with open arms to 2 private schools here. It wasn't about money. It's about being close to our children. The schools and the board of supervisors and the sheriff's department are not talking, and everyone's talking about how the other one's not talking to the other one, and I feel that it's broken.
Board of supervisors meeting.
I
You
talked
look
to Mr.
around
Trumbo.
and there's nobody there.
And same with school board. I mean,
Yeah,
my rep's
I mean,
not
you
there.
know, So you have to put yourself out in order to, you know.
I even reached out.
We meet here the second
ma'am.
Tuesday of every month.
Ma'am, I'll tell you too, I deliver a $250 check, and you can check the log every year to the sheriff's department, because that's how I was raised by my father. It's the first time I'm meeting Mr. Ray. So,
Yes, man at the door.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Ray Broom. I'm a Center District resident. A 1-minute history about me. I'm a retired commander from Fairfax County Sheriff's Office. I retired as a Ranger Captain. Spent my last few years as the commander for professional development of Fairfax County Criminal Justice Academy. So I'm very in tune with reverend law enforcement certifications. So my question is for both the incumbent and Charlie Ray. I respect both of you. Let me say that up front for being here, because it's quite a challenge to put your platforms out here before a public body. So hats off, literally, both of you. But that said, I believe in participating in this democratic process in the United States. Prior to joining the Mosier campaign, I was part of a campaign for the previous Republican candidate. During that process, I went through many vetting sessions in the privacy of my home. And I'm talking about vetting sessions with folks from your own organization. And during that process, and I will not name names, but during that vetting process, many things were discussed. Many things in great detail were discussed. That said, a couple things I'd like for each of you to answer, and I'll start with the sheriff if we could. One of the issues that kept cropping up was inequities in promotional processes. That seemed to be frustrating and repetitive for individuals during our discussions. Sheriff, what's your position on the current promotional process, and if it's broken, what would you do to fix it? And that's for you as well. And also, are there inequities? It seemed like the sentiment that I've always received in my discussions during this process was things weren't fair, was not a level playing field for everybody. It's kind of who you knew, and just comments like that, conjecture. And I think this is the forum to discuss that. But I'm not a lifelong resident of Fauquier County, but I do consider myself a local country boy. I grew up in Rappahannock County, Virginia. I've lived in Culpeper, and I've lived in Fauquier County for the past 13 years. absolutely love the county, and I will do everything within my ability to support whoever the candidate is. At the end of the day, November 3rd. But just where do we stand? Because I think it takes everybody, it takes a collaborative approach to move Fauquier County forward.
The process that's set up now has been vetted by the Fauquier County Human Resources Department. We go by what they tell us to do. Ray, it's changed several times since I've been there. We've sat down, we've gone over the process with him several times, and there's some inequities there, I can tell you that. We finally got them down, and Bob will find this out too when he goes in here. They're gonna hold him hostage, they held me hostage on salary and benefit packages, and he's gonna have to sign an agreement promising that he's gonna fulfill the county's needs and wants the way they want them done. It's gone on the past 3 terms with me. I've argued with them just about every term that I've gone in about the inequities. The county puts probably about 20 people right now that are totally paid for by the county. The rest of them are state employees with county supplements. So when the county threatens to take the supplements away from me, if I don't sign on to the agreement, you're talking about a considerable amount of change that these guys are going to be losing. 28,000, I think, is what, I think it just got increased a little bit through the state when the governor came into office because of the deputies that were on food stamps. Our guys can't survive on $28,000 here in this county. It is supplemented by the county. And, you know, Paul Mercer's here, Dave's here, they can contest to exactly what I was saying about signing on to their agreement. So yes, there is things that can be done to improve it. How much money can we spend doing it? As you know, those processes are very expensive. We just got them to change so that our hiring process, you get on the list. And I keep working off the list. That was to cut costs and save money, because now, once you get on the list gets graded from A to F. D's and F's go right away. They're usually the people that have criminal histories or something in their background that won't allow them to come to work for us. A's, B's, C's, and D's, A's, B's, C's, we keep working until we get to the end of the list. And that'll last us almost a year, so that's that much advertising and things. Problem with that is, when I get somebody that's really decent coming along, they have to wait until I finish the list before I can go back to it. And this is what HR tells me that I got to do.
Okay, so to answer your question, the first one is promotional process, right? You understand the promotional process? So, quite frankly, this gets right back into the accreditation module again, because there's standards when you want to have a promotional board and what that would look like and how you would make that happen. So, in answering that question, people that would want to rise through the ranks, they would be given the opportunity to do so. They would be given the opportunity to go to school. I think there's a county policy that allows you right now, if you sign up for school, that if you maintain an average or C average or above, that the county will pay for that related job, that course that could be related right back to your job. And there's a criminal justice program over right here at North Fairfax Community College that you can do it. So it wouldn't be a nickel out of the sheriff's office budget, but I mean the county does provide this for our county employees, incentives to do that. So if you lay those things out, you provide this opportunity for an assessment, and that's how selection should be made for promotions. Right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, we have 3 command staff level positions that are not filled. I think that came out in a newspaper article. I think it's a major's position. It's a very important position within the sheriff's office. And you have another position, a captain, and then a captain of records, right? Is that right? Or 2?
Captain of records and captain of patrol.
Okay, captain of records and a captain of patrol and a major's position. Okay, so 3 command staff positions. That's half of the command staff strength within the sheriff's office right now that has been unfilled for almost a year, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, taking that in mind, we should have these positions filled. I don't know what's happening to them or why we don't have them filled, but when you think about that, that's very important for a promotional process. Now, the second part of your question, say it again.
promotion process, and if there are inequities, and how would you fix it?
Okay, and well, the thing, I don't know what inequities exist, but our sheriff said that there are. So I would have to view those and have to get in there and then develop a plan. This is tactical planning and strategic planning. The tactical plan is a 1 to 2 year implementation. Strategic plan is 3 to 5 years implementation. So, and I'm still working on my college degree. I don't have it yet. I'm working on it. But having talked about that, these are the things that we can do together. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you, Ursula. This is a very diverse county. I'm a resident of Delaplane, which is even a little more rural than Marshall. And if you go down Route 29, you'll find more, you'll find more developed areas. Stop! You'll find more developed areas. So like we see a patrol officer every once in a while, you might need more of them down where it's developed. So given the diversity of the county and the different needs of the different parts of the county, and if each of you could answer this, if you could please start with Mosier and then Sheriff Fox, if you could follow, how would you address the diversity of the county and our needs? They are very different.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Okay, so the question is, to make sure I understand the question, that because of the diversity of the county and the needs that you have in different areas, you may have theft of hay bales in your area be more important than the theft of hubcaps in another area of the county. Just to give you an example, right? I don't know. So having said that, it's pretty simple. What it comes down to, and these are principles that go back in the Commonwealth of Virginia, they go right back to England. It's Sir Robert Peel, the Peel's Principles, believe it or not, 1830s, and what it does is it talks about this, that the distribution of crime news is essential. Every time you have a crime that takes place, you have to understand that one, that the crime took place and be able to distribute that crime news. So what you do is once you receive that news, you have a full understanding of what's going on in that particular area. So then you can dedicate resources to that area. You just don't randomly go out and do patrol. I mean, that's one way to certainly address it. But if you can focus on a particular area where you need to work or dedicate your resources, you can do that. And with today's technology, there is absolutely no reason why we can't do that. Because we can do, I've heard things like a crime analyst, how we need a crime analyst, or we have one, that type of thing. And that's true, we do need crime analysis. But my thinking would be to get something along the lines of our dispatchers, our communications specialists right now, and turn around and give them a bump in pay and make each one of those people crime analysts. And when a call comes in, they already know what's going on. How about if we put together a daily report of what the crime activity looks like and distribute that to the county leadership, not just the sheriff's office, the town police, the board of supervisors, the school board members, everyone, so they know what's going on in their particular area. Technology would allow us to do this and do it that quick. We just need to have leadership to go through.
Well, we have tried some of that, and we've sent it out to the supervisors and then those interest after very good times. You know, we have a north team, a south team. We have 6 to 8 guys working this county at nighttime, in the daytime. It's not enough out here patrolling our roads. I have fought since I've been in office and get more people, and I'll get a few here, a few there. There's not enough people for this county. State police, we end up working a lot of those accidents because they don't have enough state troopers in this. I know, I worked over there for 9 years. We don't have enough state police. I've even talked to the colonel of the Department of State Police, who, by the way, has a son that works for him in his department. There's not enough to go around. That's why we ask for people all the time. Salary and benefits is very expensive. To load the deputy, put him on the road, get him trained, $65,000 just to get him started. And you gotta pay that salary every year. That's a lot of money. So does the taxpayers want to pay the burden? We got a heroin issue going on right now in this county. If we don't get a handle on that, or methamphetamine, Why can I not admit it?
No, I'm just glad you did say that.
It needs to be addressed. It's coming here. Before it was prescription pills. You know, $30 for a little oxycodone pill. Now you can buy heroin cheaper. We're working on that. The reason I haven't filled all those positions is I put more boots on the ground to try to help cover that. I got more people working dope right now than what I've had in the past. So I'm going to be aggressive on it. But then there's the sensitivity issue that you have to worry about, which is going on all over the country. Ferguson, you know, our guys are very aggressive. They ask the questions, but then are they not being sensitive enough? That's hit us a couple times. I'm not a prejudiced guy. I don't throw that stuff out there, but it comes to our door a lot. That's why I want the cameras. That's why I want this stuff, but it's expensive. Our video cameras have showed a lot of the guys are being very professional about what they're doing. We still get the complaints.
Thank you, Charlie. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Kristen Moyle. I live in Orange and in New Baltimore. And we moved here, I'm one of the new people in the community. We moved here 18 years ago. It was our third time back to Virginia. We kept moving farther out. My husband's like, you gotta go to Frontier County. At first I'm like, are you sure that's a word you can say in front of you? And so we retired rather long ago. So we retired 2.5 years ago, and I have to tell you, I plan on spending the rest of my time here. I love this county. So the other day, not long ago, several months ago, in fact, when we published the budget. Oh, and by the way, I should tell everybody, I've never lived anywhere this long in my entire life. My dad was in the Air Force, my husband was Secret Service, so we moved all over the place. But I went into our district supervisor, and I pulled in the budget with me, and I've gone through the entitlement programs. I'm thinking, man, 2.5 years, I'm seeing what's going on in the county. And I'm like, excuse me, the sheriff's department. What is going on? I thought you never saw deputy in the morning. And I remember telling one of your sergeants, when you make a left out of where I live, you better be doing 80 before you get to the top of the hill, or somebody's going to hit you on the back end. Because we're cut through. Anybody coming from Charlottesville, Culpeper doesn't make any difference. The traffic, the speed, the accidents between 605 and Vinville Road, I mean, it's there. The crime, all you have to do is read the talking times, and you go in and you read where once a month the grand jury goes in and they indict people. And I'm looking at the amount of crime, heroin, cocaine, uttering. They're all tied together. They're from around here. So my question to the supervisor was, why isn't the sheriff's department, you guys have I never seen anybody. And the only time we have an alarm go off on the house, the state patrol response. So my question is, why aren't we hiring more manpower? I'm told the positions are there. I mean, I understand the resources, I understand how the budget's run. So I guess my question to you, Sheriff, is, and even to Bob, is what are you going to do? We need to attract these folks. I mean, are you going in and fighting with the supervisors? I mean, I'll show up at the meeting, I'm all for it. I mean, I was going to that for you, going, cut out the entitlement stuff. Let's get the law enforcement. You mentioned Ferguson. You mentioned, I have family that's also out there in law enforcement. And I'm worried because everything has changed. And that's not, and I want our guys who are here in the county, I want them to be able to respond, to get to where they need to be. I don't want to see these guys out on the road and maybe slowing some of the traffic down. Because I'm sorry, 55 is 55. If you're doing 80, that would be, so my question then is, what are you doing?
Man, we're doing everything that we can do that outside of suing the county. Every year I go to them about more people and more people. They know the problems out there. Our roads can't accommodate the much traffic. Look at down there at Route 215. It's a VDOT issue. We've had issues about the trucks coming up the thing. I don't have guys that are certified for that training. That's VDOT. Department of Transportation training takes them 6 months to get through that training. We have one trooper here that's department trained to handle that part of the trucks. We got so much things going on in our county just to keep it down as low. You know, crime is down now. Maybe it's a nationwide trend. I'm gonna take credit for it because we're out there doing our part. We caught a group of kids that was breaking in over at Brookside the other day. We caught a group of kids that was breaking in the town of Remington down there. We're constantly going from one thing to another, and we can't be proactive anymore. We're reactive. And I apologize for that, but we don't have the manpower to do it. Not with the amount of people we got. 30 people working the road, and they work swing shifts. You know, I got 2 jails. One here in Fauquier County, one over in Winchester. And they're full. They got all they can hold over there. We keep arresting them, we keep putting them in jail. I'm open for suggestions. I've always been open. I have an open door policy. Anybody can come by the office and talk to me anytime they want.
Next question? Yes.
Sheriff Fox, how often do you attend board of supervisor meetings? How many have you attended in the last few years?
Probably 3.
In how many years?
3 years.
1 a year? You think that's enough?
I don't know.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sheriff Fox, you know me, I'm Scott Pilling, I've been living here for 15 years, and I probably considered it too new. People didn't used to listen to me about trying to calm Route 17 down until I started getting a lot of people inside. We have 350,000 citizens, primarily focused on Route 17, calm those truckers down through martial warning. And even now, more people got on board, they're concerned about southern truckers all the way down. Every time I start to say things, bring it to the board of supervisors, the VDOT, it always points back to you to get the job done.
The chief law enforcement officer of the county.
Right? So, I've got stats here. Now, I want to be honest. In the beginning, years ago, you were very kind and helpful. You remember when I would bring the citizens down, and we would give you suggestions. And I sent you maps over the years recently. I've over every couple of years. Every year, actually, I'm sending you maps where you hide, how to build reputation, use your men to greater efficiency, almost like Vietnam tactics. Hit and run, hide, don't be seen so easily, scare them. None of this, you don't have to listen. So, and I got stats here that you're only pulling over, these were your stats. And I thank you in the past, you made it harder for me to get them most recently. And in 7 years worth of stats, you're pulling over about 1 truck a year, tractor trailer, a year. And you're hitting the cars, that's great. But to build a reputation, like I said, you need to, those guys are using CPs, they're using phones and cell phones now. That spreads your reputation. Don't speak to this county. It's not getting done. So my question to you is, what are you going to do the next 4 years? I keep on hearing, I got you money. I wrote to the board of supervisors, give me more money. I never even got a thank you for that. Supervisor Holden Trumbo. Supervisor Holden Trumbo is here. I wrote to Peter Short, I think is here. They all, Holder Trumbo told me they attempted to increase the budgets primarily because of all the evidence I mounted to give you more officers. Yet we still saw nothing. I'm not even asking for special exception like in front of my house. I'm just talking about all 17. So my question is, what are you going to do differently in the next 4 years that you're in?
You can't go in here and stop a truck just for no reason at all.
They're speeding.
They're not speeding when the guys are out there.
That's a lie.
You can send me into my driveway.
Let's not go there.
Decorum.
Let's tone it down. Would you answer this question?
The only thing we can do, it's Route 17 is the most enforced highway that we have in the county. The traffic summonses show that it's the most enforced. This is not a battle I'm going to win, and I'm not trying to win it. I would love to have people that we can sign just to that roadway, but we can't
Okay,
sign just to
this
that
gentleman
roadway.
with the glasses, you don't need to stand up, just put up your voice and just,
I have a follow-up question that the lady behind me started here. My name is Louis Dominguez. I'm a resident of Fauquier County and a retired law enforcement officer. Sheriff Fox, the truth of the matter is that the speeders, reckless drivers, and drunks on the roads in Fauquier County. Our dear neighbor in Suffield Meadows, not long ago, got killed coming out of that intersection there. You never see any deputies anywhere. Don't you have a traffic division? Don't you have enough deputies to assign to patrol those roads and reduce that high speed? They go up here 65, 70, 80 miles an hour right through town, and there's no one there. Of course, the warranted police cannot be counted on to do anything. But the only ones that are doing any traffic enforcement is the Virginia State Police, and there's not enough of them. God knows they do their best. So what do you have to say about that, Sheriff Fox? Are you going to let these reckless drivers on our roads and kill people?
No, sir. I'm not gonna allow that to happen. We just won the chief's challenge for the most tickets in that area. The process takes us a lot longer. You arrest a DUI, you're looking at a couple hours that one guy has been taken off the roadway. And I think anybody that knows that, we're writing a lot of DUIs, they're missing. We're working a lot of family domestic fights. They're out of the way. We're handling the traffic. We're working the special events. It can only be divided up so much, Louis. We do the best we can absolutely do. Until we get more people. I can tell you, I could use 25 more people today. 25.
thank you, Charlie.
That would help us.
Bob?
Thank you for bringing it up. It is a very important point because, traffic deaths on our highways. I don't know if you realize this, but I recently attended a transportation committee meeting, and 40% of injuries and fatalities, people are not wearing seatbelts in their motor vehicles at the time of these accidents. So there needs to be stricter enforcement when it comes to seatbelt violations. Those who would violate the seatbelt violation, they are going to be the same people that are going to speed. And it is a speeding issue. It may not be particularly a truck issue, but it is a speeding issue. So if you can get out there and you can identify where these speeding incidents occur, by the way, the Transportation Committee has got this great software that shows you exactly where the #1 intersections are for accidents and fatalities in this county. Somebody mentioned Route 215 earlier in Vendale Road. That is the #1 location for accidents and fatalities in Fauquier County. And along with other ones, they've got them listed out. So it isn't that we don't know where these areas are or where the speeding occurs, it's being able to dedicate resources to that area during that time when we know that these violations are going to occur. And so you will build a reputation over time that people will realize that that's not the place to go to speed. Now, the manner in which you conduct the enforcement, that is something for the sheriff to decide. That's how we do this. That's our secret of being able to make it effective in the long term. So I can't share that secret with you, how we're going to catch it. But I can guarantee you, if you'd like to be sheriff, we'll catch you. No problem.
Looking at the clock, the allotted time is over for questions. I am positive that each candidate and their supporters will be either in the hall or in this room for a little while, someplace answering your questions on a one-to-one.
Ursula, can I just make one comment?
Make it quick.
It's going to be real quick. I'd just like to say, and I've heard all the questions and comments, and my name's Roger Beavers, by the way. I've been in the county here for 300 or 400 years. If you ask Bob Sinclair out there, he'll tell you we all kin and everything. And I used to work for the sheriff's office back when Sam Hall was chief deputy. Can you believe that? Way back there. And Luke Cox was sheriff. He hired me, gave me a badge, told me to go up there to the clerk's office, get sworn in. But anyway, I wanted to say all that to say this. Been here, seen people, watched people come and go. And there's a lot of police officers, a lot of law enforcement in this room here tonight. And I just want to say thank you. We appreciate what you do. Thank you.
It's time to pledge allegiance, and as before we say that, my favorite motto is, please be sure and shop Marshall. Marshall is a spectacular town.
And October the 3rd is Marshall Day.
Marshall. You ready? 1, 2, 3.